My name is Samantha Richardson, and today I want to talk to you about the communication process and how it works. A lot of people say that communication is not important. A lot of people say that knowing the different levels and the different steps in reference to communication is not important. Well, I'm here today to tell you that it is. When you learn how something operates and how it works, it helps you understand the concept better. Peter Drucker, which is a very well-known speaker, stated that the most important thing in communication is hearing what isn't said. Like I just said, a lot of people think that communication is not important, but it is because we use communication every day in our lives. Communication is a very vital aspect in reference to how we operate. Communication ranges from different cultures all around the world, and it's important to know exactly how that process can be effective and how it can be. Communication allows us to interact with one another, allows us to be aware when the message that we intended to see, whether or not it's received properly by the receiver. This topic for me, I can say that it's personal, it's also professional. Communication can be used when I'm not at work. Communication is used when I am at work in reference to my professional career. My professional career, I am in law enforcement, and communication is very important because I have to deal with people that I don't know. I have to deal with strangers that don't know me. So me working on communication, working on my communication is very vital. In this speech, I basically just want to explain how this process works and things that you probably didn't know I can share with you, and it might help you in your life. To begin, I'll give you a little background in reference to the communication process and what it is. The communication process is a dynamic process that begins with ideas that the sender and the receiver, the sender transmits to the receiver. The first step in reference to this process is the sender. The sender is the most important person in this process. The sender basically sets the tone for the message or the conversation that's being conveyed. The sender also can determine the direction of the message that's being sent. Second step is the encoding process. Encoding process is when the sender uses certain words or certain symbols or body gestures to convey what they're really trying to say to the receiver. Matt Morris, which is another public speaker, stated that the sender must be able to hear your emotions in your voice. So anytime that you're communicating with someone, it should be to the point where the words, your body gesture, your posture, and the way you go about the message that you're trying to send, the receiver should be able to feel what you're saying, not just your words. Now we will move on to the next steps in reference to this process. The next step of this message is the encoding process. This process is when the sender gets the message that he or she is trying to convey. The next step is the communication channel. This is when the sender chooses whatever medium that they want to use and they send their message to the receiver. The choice of the medium really depends on the relationship that the sender has with the receiver in order for this to be a successful process. The communication channel can make or break the message that's being sent. And what I meant by that, sometimes people don't take into accountability how they say something and what they say. They just say it. Nonverbal communication is a major barrier in reference to that. You can be talking to someone and they can be rolling their eyes in the air. To you, that may be a sign that they don't care, or they're not interested in what you have to say. So that message is not going to be effective. The last two steps in this process is the receiver and the decoding process. The receiver in this role plays a major part because now the receiver is processing what the sender the message that the sender has sent to them. The receiver has to decode whatever message that the sender sent. But also the receiver had to have knowledge in reference to the information that was transmitted to him or he or she. It also has a lot to do with the vibe of the sender. Whatever type of mental state or state of mind that the sender was in when he sent the message, he or she sent the message. The receiver will interpret what they feel that they got out of the message. The last step in reference to this process is the feedback process. This process basically occurs when the receiver tells the sender what he or she got out of the message. And this process will also let you know whether or not your message was successful. Now we're going to talk about what we went over and what we talked about. We talked about how important communication was. We talked about the different processes and levels of the communication process. Communication is a very growing and influential aspect of the human race. To conclude, there's no right and wrong way to have effective communication. People communicate in different ways. It's all about listening to the sender. It's all about listening to what is said and how it is said. At the same time, it also is about taking into accountability your mental state again and your state of mind when you're trying to have an effective conversation with someone. Lastly, speak truthfully, speak clearly. Say what you mean what you say. Take others' feelings into consideration anytime that you're trying to have a conversation with someone. And lastly, practice effective communication.